Hey everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Bearded Chat. Today we have as our guest Hugh Grover. He is a sales expert. He's been across multiple industries in finance, fashion, retail, and recruitment. We speak all things sales. It's the first time we've really got into an actual topic, which is really cool. And then we also cover Hugh's career and how he got to the point where he is. Please welcome our guest, Hugh Grover. Thank you for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome.
I'm really excited.
And TJ as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
TJ's back.
Second potty
He made it.
on here. So, Hugh,
After I heard the questions from Luke last time, I'm actually surprised you actually came back, TJ. Well done.
but they were
Well
hard
done.
hitting. They were very, very hard,
Hard
hitting.
hitting, yeah.
But awesome. Great to have you on, Hugh.
Thanks, mate. I'm excited to be here.
2007, Emirates Best Dressed.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, we're going there, aren't we?
Yeah.
We can cut this,
Can we
can't
get
we?
that up?
Nah,
We can
this
cut
is all long
this.
form. So
What does this have to do with sales? I don't think it has anything to do with sales, does it?
Yeah, it does, because you got to look good in sales with a
That is
fashion
true.
industry.
That is
do
true.
so well.
I think I'm wearing the same outfit I was back in 2007.
Just
We
no
are-
fedora.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Can we put that up somehow?
Yeah, we'll put it up on the YouTube one.
Awesome. I loved it. I thought it was
Just
great.
don't show Marla. She'll run.
Hey, you were pretty stylish, mate.
you're-
I had to double check because you were really young there.
I
and
was really young.
How old were you there?
Well, it was interesting. Like, I grew up in a family where, like, mum was a CEO of a company, and up until 6 months ago, or 6 weeks ago, was and was kind of having some time off.
Awesome.
And Dad was someone that was very much image focused. So I finished rowing that day, 2007. Would have been year 10. Just got off the Yarra River rowing.
Make sure you're on this.
Is this good?
Yeah,
There
to
we
pull
go.
it out. If you talk to him, just
Oh,
pull
yeah,
it
yeah,
out.
okay.
Yeah, put
There
it
we
out a
go.
little bit so you can.
Done.
There you go.
Just wave it around.
Yeah.
So I just finished rowing, and Dad said, I've just bought you this new Arthur Gallen. There's a plug, Arthur. This new Arthur Gallen suit, and I've just entered you in the Fashions of the Field. So
Your dad did.
My dad did.
What a man.
Well, usually you'd think
Yeah.
it's the mum, right?
Right.
But
How
Dad
good.
Dad was very much image
Stylish
conscious.
guy.
What did he do?
He was a pilot for Qantas.
Cool. Got to be that schmick uniform rolling
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, very much. I think that's a good point. Very much uniform focused.
Yeah.
Always
Presentable.
presented himself, in a uniform, and so for someone going to the corporate world at some stage, it was a suit. By the way, here we go.
There you go. How many beers you had around?
One too many, clearly.
That's all right.
So I got off the out of the water, and Dad said, "Hey, I've just enrolled you in the Fashion of the Field." And Dad was someone that if he wasn't a pilot, he should have been in real estate.
Really?
He would have made so much money. Like,
Gift
he's
of
got
the
the
gab.
gift of the gab,
Yeah.
the veneers, the slick back hair, the Armani suits.
Yeah.
He looks like
Million
What's your
bucks.
heritage? Your family heritage?
as in like Scottish English.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but
Well, you were describing a mafia, so I was like,
Are you Italian?
clearly by my skin you can tell.
The mob's out the front.
Yeah. We're not talking about TJ.
Ethnics.
So I went to this Fashions of the Field. And I was like, you know what? Dad told me, he's like, hey, the first place prize is a return trip to Dubai, first class, which is amazing. Plasma TV.
Where were you? Where was this? The
Mel-
Rolex Gala or something. Bloody hell.
Melbourne
Cup?
Melbourne Cup
Yeah.
Fashions of the Field.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I enrolled, got through the first heat, got through the second heat, and then was in the top 5.
Yep.
And there was another guy that I went to school with called Alex Pullen. God, you're jogging my memory now. And he was wearing the exact same suit.
You're kidding.
The exact same suit. And so I said to him,
Awkward.
I was like, we were both in the middle. we were both in the middle.
Someone's got to change.
Yeah.
We were both in the middle. We were both in the top 5. So I thought to myself, we're effectively wearing the exact same outfit. He actually probably looked a little bit better than I did. And I thought, how do I... Yeah, thank you. And so I thought, how do I ensure that suddenly I'm the one in the middle being judged? So I said to Alex, we're sitting next to each other. I said, hey, mate, I think it's probably best that we break up the outfits because otherwise none of us is going to win. Do you reckon you kind of move to the side?
Far left-hand side. Far right-hand side.
No, far left-hand side. So
Wait around the back and I'll get you in the
It's your far left, but the judge is far right.
Yeah.
So Alex moves across, and then effectively, long story short, I end up winning Fashions of the Field.
The rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. Sorry, Alex.
Alex got 5th place.
I think he's doing well in his own right, so I don't think he's complaining. But yeah, so won Fashions of the Field, and then gave the first class trip to my mum and her grandmother, or her mum.
Cool.
Yeah, so I gave it to her, but I'm not sure where we're going to go off the back of this conversation. But yes,
we'll go.
Fashions of the Field 2007.
I'll guide you through this.
Wow, there you go. Hey,
That's cool. Yeah, we wondered how that came up because it was just a random photo of you, and I was like,
random.
That is not you. And then I looked into it, and I was like, yes, that is you. So you're born and bred in Melbourne.
Born and bred in Melbourne. Scotch boy.
Awesome. How was school?
School was good.
Were you good at school?
Not a good student.
Yeah.
Horrible student. Never really got it. Like, never understood why I was there. Never understood.
As in bad student, or as in you didn't enjoy it and you didn't think you get much out of it?
Love school. Loved my mates. Loved rowing. Loved football.
Camaraderie.
You love the camaraderie. Yeah. I had such a good group of mates and still very close to a lot of them. But school, I sucked. I was doing maths, and I was like, how does this practically apply in the real world?
Sure.
The one thing that I did do at school, though, was I sold cans of Coke, and I was going to say I made sure I said Coke cans.
Not bags.
Not my dad, the mafia bosses.
So sold cans of Coke from my locker, and then got to a point where in year...
What, was it like vanilla, straight Coke?
No, we did. We started just like straight Coke because it was just a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
And then we started to diversify the portfolio, and we went from Coke to vanilla Coke to occasionally a little bit of Coke Zero. Wow. Was it Coke Zero then? Or maybe Diet Coke. Anyway, and then we sold Whiz Fizz, Big Boss, and this lasted for about 6 months, 9 months.
So that's when the sales journey started, really.
This is when the sales journey started. And so mum I was doing low ticket sales effectively, buying a can for 50 cents, selling it for $1.
What, from the tuck shop, or were you going to the Woolies and buying a hot
Going to Woolies, and then so we at home.
Master distributor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually talk me through my business model. Did it have legs long term? so suddenly, I'm making about probably $250 to $500 $250 a week.
Wow.
That's how old were you? 13, 14?
13, 14.
That's a couple of Redskins at the tuck shop. That is a couple.
It was a couple. It was absolutely
and
a
that's
couple.
back in the day when like $1 you could get 2 meat pies, 2 cogs, like a bread roll, and still have 50 cents left over.
Seriously. It was I was rolling in the deep end.
Yeah.
What were you enjoying about that?
So I think it was just more the fact that I could see tangible outcomes. Like I purchased something that someone wanted, and then I was undercutting the tuck shop, and I was providing.
Sorry, Maureen.
That's great.
Yeah, she lost her job 6 months later. No, but I think it was just more like I was providing value to someone, and I could clearly see it when I was doing maths, when I was doing literature, when I was doing history. I understood the stories, understood the value of it. To a degree in theory, but practically it didn't still fucking make sense. Mm-hmm. And so it was the first time I was like, okay, I can do something and provide a service, provide value to someone else, and off the back of that, get something from it in return that's actually tangible. That means on the weekend I can spend money, I can hang out with my friends, I can do shit. But the thing that got to me after about 6 months, I was like, $250 a week, it's good, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do what one of the boys at school did, which was start burning from LimeWire.
AIDS for your computer. That was AIDS for your computer.
Yeah. The good old torrent.
So I didn't start downloading porn and burning onto CDs and selling it like the guy that got expelled. But what I decided to do was, Mum at the time was general manager of the Crown Casino in Melbourne.
Yeah, wow.
And she looked after, I can say this because Mum's not working at the moment, maybe I can't. But Mum was running also as part of that, like the Crown lobby shop.
Yeah,
It was just something that she looked after.
Yeah.
And so after like a certain period of time, the products expired. So Mum would get them for free. So we were then suddenly selling out of my locker like Crown dice, Crown stereo systems.
Out of my locker.
Out of my locker.
Awesome.
And then so suddenly we got into a point where it was like $1,200 to $1,500 a week. So it was like $4,000, $5,000 a month that I was making.
Wow.
That is solid. I was eating that much food to keep up the energy for my training. I wasn't making that much. I was eating that much in training or feeding my body for training. But that is what that's wild.
This is some real Gary V
yeah.
It was serious.
Wow.
It was serious. And so dad kind of knew of this, but kind of turned a blind eye. He hated it because he was very much, again, pilot, textbook.
Get a job.
You get a job. Like, don't be entrepreneurial. Do it the right way. There's a process. Yeah, go to uni, all that shit. And mum was very much, she grew up in a blue collar family. They worked for everything. Her old man was a sales rep for a company. At 27, 28, got laid off. They were the largest food and beverage company into Tasmania.
Yep.
And once they kind of gained market share of John bringing all the clients across, they laid him off because they're like, well, we
don't need you anymore.
We don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
And so John thought to himself, fuck this. I've actually got the relationships. He then went into competition with them literally a month later. Within the space of 3 years, I think he had 80% of all food and beverage going into Tasmania because he managed the relationships.
Yep.
So for me, mum saw a little bit, I think, of me in John in me.
Yep.
And so she was very much happy to fuel this. And so we started selling these products. We're doing about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Mum was very, very generous. She didn't ask for a cut of the commission.
Wow.
So
Go, Mum. What's Mum's name?
Jane.
Shout out Jane.
Yeah. Shout out Jane. Yeah, Jane Grover. Absolutely.
She'll 100% listen to this. Yeah. Earmuffs and all the swearing and inappropriate things as well.
And so will Melbourne Casino.
So we did that, and after what was it, like probably 9 months, it got to a point where I think someone complained, and Adam Mueller, the head of year, ended up kind of finding out about this, got suspended, had a couple of weeks off school.
You got suspended.
Got suspended for being entrepreneurial. Can you
Selling
believe that?
dye.
What?
Selling, yeah, seriously.
Wow. What did they? What was the reason for suspension?
For undercutting the tuck shop.
Are you serious?
No, I've got no fucking idea. I've got no idea.
Maureen
You actually got suspended for running a business.
For running a business.
So what? Sorry.
Well,
what were
that's
the
what's
products
wrong
you
with the
were
fucking
selling?
world.
Actual dice.
So dice, cards. The other thing that people love was that they had these big sound systems at like Sony and stuff.
Yeah.
And so opposed to selling for $2,000, Mum got them for free. So it was like $300, $400, $500 or something.
Wow.
Like, anything was upside. And
Yeah.
if people wanted a good deal, I'd give them a good deal.
Do you think that your family had a big impact on where you are now in your sales career?
Yes and no. I would say yes, in the sense like Mum allowed me that entrepreneurial perspective.
To breed it then, yeah.
To breed it. But also, I think the first job I ever did, I'm not sure if we're going to segue to that later.
Yeah, 100%.
The first job I ever did was recruitment.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking disaster. And for the first...
Well, recruiting's a tough gig.
It is a very...
You either...
At present it is too.
Yeah, no matter what, it's real sales.
Yeah.
You are
It's real sales.
eaten or be eaten.
Yeah.
100%. And
That makes sense.
I was eaten.
Yeah. You're monsters alive. I've seen people who are like, oh yeah, I want to get into HR. Yeah, get into recruitment. I'm like, that is not the HR you want to get into.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to be on the back end of that, suing the company.
Yeah. You can tell like anyone that's half decent at sales, if you last more than 6 months in recruitment, you've done okay.
Yeah,
And actually, you haven't done okay. You've done extremely well.
Yeah. Our sales guy at the Bearded Chap, our APAC sales manager, Rich, he's from recruitment. He's a fucking killer.
He's a gun. He's
Yeah.
a gun.
You have to be cutthroat and have thick
Oh my
skin.
God.
I think for any sales industry, really, you do, because the amount of objections you face and the indifferences that you face, it's such a broad aspect. In whatever industry you're in, someone wants to make your day shit.
100%.
Someone wants to make your day shit.
And actually, on that, let's just talk about first sales jobs. What were your first sales jobs?
My first sales job was McDonald's, if you want to count that. I was there for 5 years.
Does that classify as a sales job? No,
That's
customer
customer
service.
service, bro.
And that's what customer service people would say.
Solar,
Classic.
solar was my first
Solar.
sales job.
Solar.
Yep. Selling solar over the phone.
How
cold
did you get
calling.
into solar?
I got into solar. That's a great question. I was straight after my McDonald's career, straight into this
Career? Can we call it a career?
extensive career. I was a qualified barista.
I think people do.
Yeah, they've got the best
Actually,
training
yeah, we
regime
should be
for
kind.
kids coming up. But yeah, I got into solar just through a couple of mates that are also doing it through footy.
Okay.
And it was a lot better paid than McDonald's, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And it was honestly like savage. It was
How old were you?
calling. I would have been just out of high school, maybe 18, 19.
Yeah, okay.
And it was 100 calls a day.
Okay.
It's 5 days a week.
And
make sales.
how'd you go with that?
I think because of the personality that I have, I'm always upbeat. And
Yep.
I don't have those.
Did you have proper training?
No.
Yeah.
No. It was pretty thrown into the deep end. I'm not real lackadaisical with it. Like
Shannon Byrne.
Yeah, 100%. I could talk with a mouthful of marbles underwater.
Okay.
So I think that benefited me, and even into where I am today, that
Yep.
I just have that energy that people can vibe off of and relate to. So,
100%.
they actually fired the 2 guys that I got into there with. They got me the job there. They got fired. They kept me on. And then the company went bankrupt. So, as we were saying.
So what was your learning? And this is the thing I always find interesting. What was your learning from solar sales? Like, what do you take away from that time? And how long were you there for?
I was there. I would have been there for 7 months, I reckon.
7
so
months.
it wasn't a long career, but that stemmed into the other things that I've done
Okay.
today. And I think the main thing that I learned was that you can't just be good at talking.
Yeah.
You have to relate to people and
And was this
and
door
relate.
knocking?
No, this was on the phone.
On the phone.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit harder over the phone
Yeah.
because you can't get someone's personality or
Yeah.
spark their interest over a phone call. You have to be interesting within the first 7 seconds.
100%.
Or they'll hang up on you.
One-
4 seconds?
4 seconds.
Yeah.
4
around
seconds or
4
they'll hang up
seconds.
on you.
4%, when it's 1/100th of a second in person.
Yeah.
1/100th of a second.
And it's that savage. Once
Yeah.
you're not faced, people are less inclined to shut the door on you than they are to hang up on you.
And how were you guys getting leads?
We just, honestly, it was insane. I don't know how they generated these leads. I
I was
had
buying them.
a fresh list of people's names and addresses every single day. And
That was when they had white pages, eh?
yes, it was. Yellow pages, yeah. And I would just be like, hey, is Mr. Stavros there? And they'd be like, it's me, Mr. Stavros. And I'm like, mate, just Google Maps your house and you have an incredible view
Roof.
of the sun. It's insane. The amount of money you'd be saving your solar rebate every year, you could buy yourself a new car.
Yeah.
And it was either boop, 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 or tell me more.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, right.
How about you, Hugh? What was your first sales?
First sales as a career?
Proper, yeah.
Proper. I would say
Yeah.
I would say recruitment. And the guy sold me so well. His name's Andrew State from SHK. And I said to him, hey, the one thing that's really important to me, I was like,
Is this in your interview?
in the interview, I said,
Right.
at 21 years, I was like, hey, the one thing that's most important to me is career development. And so he leans forward and goes, Hugh, that is what we pride ourselves on, career development. And so I was like, you know what, fuck it, for 80 grand straight out of university, this is incredible money.
And what did you study at uni?
Studied a Bachelor of Business, marketing, in marketing. And so ended up taking this job, and the first day that I got there, he handed me a white pages, and he said, "I want you to make 200 calls a day." A week later,
200 calls a day.
200 calls a day, and I was hanging up on myself. It was a fucking disaster.
Were out of those, how many were actually connections?
I would say probably there'd be 40 to 50 conversations with people a day.
Yep.
But I wouldn't even call them conversations.
Yeah.
And
I
so
was that horrible. It was a disaster.
Did you have a script?
No script, nothing, thrown in the deep end.
Yeah.
And he did the classic bait and switch, sell you the absolute
Well,
dream,
yeah.
and then give you wah, wah, wah.
Do you have a button for that? Close enough. Yeah. So what were you recruiting for?
So I don't even know what I was recruiting for. That was the issue.
That lasted 6 months? That was 6 months?
No, fuck off. I did 2 years of it, so I was actually
Whoa.
I was okay. The
wow,
thing
okay.
similar to TJ.
Yeah.
I was one of those people. I was like, I'm going to make this work. And
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
have to.
I was like, I have to. Like, I had the opportunity. I took this job, and I was like, you know what? I've now done it. I need at least get something on my CV. I can't be someone that just left uni, did a job for 6 months, then does another job for 6 months. I have to, my first job, persevere for 2 years. And it was honestly the most brutal thing. Every week I'd call up mum in tears, crying. Almost got
Character building, that stuff.
Seriously, seriously, because I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I had no idea. Like, I had no idea what we were selling. No one kind of talked me through why this was important. I just again saw this as like, if I wasn't doing this, someone else would be doing it.
I think that's the main thing.
There's
Kids coming out of school and uni, you get flattered with this 80 grand, and you're like, I'm going to be earning some awesome money here.
100%.
And then
It's 100% not
they
true.
get you for your.
It's not true.
No, it's not. And they get you for your first 6 months that you're pepped up and you're happy to come to work and you're excited because you're getting this good paycheck. And then as soon as you start giving the results after that 6 month probation,
Yeah, seriously.
come in for the next one. You know what? They said to the next person, Hugh, that is exactly what we pride ourselves on.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that, like, for me, that really pisses me off because, like, as an employer, That
Yeah.
is the worst. That's what number one has given sales reps a bad name.
Yeah,
Full stop.
100%.
Totally agree.
Because sales as a profession is the highest paid profession out of any other industry in the entire fucking world.
Is that,
Yep.
is that a
Sales is the number one.
Wow.
No one else comes close.
Yeah, well, it's
Spoken like a true
those uncapped
salesperson.
places.
Yeah, it is. And for me, sales is a profession.
Yep.
Most people don't recognize that. They're like, oh, you're a salesman. No, I'm a fucking salesperson.
100%.
Like we have untapped. If you're selling yachts, you're selling whatever, everyone, it's always funny. I always say, everyone is a salesperson. Or if I'm talking to someone like salesmen and motherfuckers, I'm like, you're a salesman. They're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, have you got friends?
You're selling yourself.
You're a fucking salesperson,
Yeah,
bro. Because
totally
you had to
agree.
sell yourself to someone for them to like you and actually start to not necessarily like you, respect you, build a rapport, and
Yeah.
get to know someone. So
Totally agree.
you did your uni, you up at Bond,
A bit bond.
and then how did you find university in regards to setting you up or
Yeah, for what you're doing today.
getting you into the real world, as they say, from my old uni.
Again,
It's just interesting because
No.
I learned some valuable lessons out of university. I remember doing entrepreneurship as a course, and it was
Yeah.
the biggest fucking joke I've ever seen.
Really?
So,
but why
was
was it a joke?
because I was being taught entrepreneurship by a person who had a PhD in entrepreneurship and never run a business in his entire
Yeah.
life.
Well-
So
well,
that's the first one. But on other things like management
yeah.
and literally socializing and
Yeah.
actually interacting, I met some of my best friends at university because I got to work out who you are, like be on campus. And I did college in the US as well. So I had a really varied a bag of going to uni. So
So you had a good time.
I had a good time.
You had a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I had
Do
a
you
good
do you want
time.
to share some of those stories? Yeah,
That's where this couch came from.
it looks pretty
old
worn.
dorm
It looks pretty worn.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
balls.
So what did you take out of uni, and like how could you apply it?
So again, a horrible uni student, didn't know why I was doing it. It was kind of like one of those things where everyone at
Keep
private,
dad happy.
Yeah, everyone in private schools, they did business, they did commerce, they did medicine, or they did law. They were like the four things that you did. And so I moved up to Bond. The main reason I went up there was my godmother Jo was a law lecturer up at Bond, still is. Great woman. And so I went up to Bond, and it was just so much fun. So for the 2.5 years that I was there, within the first 6 weeks, again, this is where kind of that sales element came out. A guy called Greg Russell kind of met me. I was involved in all of like the events that were happening within 6 weeks. And he goes, hey, I reckon you should be social director of the university. And we're running this ticket. Would you like to be part of it? And so I ended up kind of running for social director on this ticket. The guy that I was competing against, he'd been at the uni for 2.5 years. Queensland boy, really well connected. So I thought, fuck, like if I'm going to win this thing, then I need to kind of, I need to build out a team. So I had, I was living in the dorms at the time, which looked more like a jail cell, a beautiful jail cell, but a jail cell nonetheless. And so I recruited a whole bunch of people, like 10 or 15 of my best friends. And then every day we would go to every dorm and hand out flyers. And so they effectively became like lobbyists for me. And so we'd go and we'd knock on doors and say, hey, I'm Hugh. By the way, I've just been up here for 6 weeks. Want to be involved in the social. I'm going to be running for the social director. What do you want to see out of the university? And effectively, I would be door knocking for about 6 weeks before I ended up getting the job, getting brought in for it. So for me, got to Bond, became social director within kind of the space of 3 months of being there, which had kind of never happened beforehand. Most people have been there for 2 years before they're kind of involved in those kind of committees. Yep. And so for me, it kind of showed me that I was already very good in a practical sense of applying myself and getting results. However, university never teach that. It was all very theoretical based. Yep. So again, I left university having incredible relationships, like some of my friends, incredibly successful in their own right. However, I still didn't have a huge amount of self-belief in my own capabilities because the way that society was judging my success wasn't dictated to my school education, the results that I got, university degree and the results that I got. However, I knew innately there was something inside of me that when it came to practically implementing and executing, I'd always get the results.
Yeah. What did you want to achieve out of your degree as well? What did you want to do?
I just at the time really wanted to have a good time, and I did a pretty good job.
You need to I need to do business to have a great time.
And I want to touch on this for a second because I think one of the things that's really important to touch on, and cutting the bullshit for a second, was I kind of came from a family where mum and dad were quite well off, and so this can be like a blessing or a curse.
Yeah, 100%.
And so for me, it was very much in terms of when I got to my first career was a curse because I hadn't had to work hard.
Yeah.
I hadn't had to apply myself. I didn't have a part-time job opposed to a rowing coach. So I had no habits that were actually indoctrinated in me to set me up for success.
Yep.
So that first 2 or 3 years of actually getting to the real world was fucking brutal.
Yep.
Like I was horrible. I didn't have a routine. I didn't have habits. Even though I played footy at school and was in rowing and rowing at uni, I didn't actually have enough of a track record to back myself that I would actually be successful. So for me, that first 3 years in work was unbelievably challenging.
Yeah, okay. Do you think that stemmed from not actually having a part-time job when you were going through high school? I mean, you had your can selling and whatnot, but you didn't have that experience. You know, for myself, my parents were incredibly well off as a kid. So I started working when I was 13. I was playing footy and I'd have to work around all these things, and you know, nothing came too easy. But you know, we had what we needed. Do you reckon that some of that maybe stemmed from that too?
100%, and I think that's the reason why I was attracted to my wife, Marlo. She's the exact same as you, TJ. You know, 13.
Indian, Greek, 5'11".
No, beautiful green eyes.
Beautiful, mate.
Beautiful green eyes. Beautiful green eyes.
Yeah.
No, but so Marlo, you know, 13 and a half, as soon as you can legally work, she's working at Subway, she's working in another store, family, blue collar worker for the most part.
Yep.
Beautiful family, Ron and Sue. But very hard working. And so the reason I was attracted to her was she had such a fucking incredibly good work ethic.
Good drive.
Good drive.
Passion,
and I didn't necessarily have that when I was younger. And so when I saw that in her, that was something that I kind of jumped at.
And your wife, Marlo, she's a business owner as well?
She runs a business.
Fashion.
What's that?
She's in fashion, isn't she?
No, she was in fashion.
She was in fashion?
She was in fashion. Now she runs a online aerobic company called G Pump Aerobics.
Amazing.
Get that on there.
G Pump Aerobics.
That transitioned pretty fast because the reading article was like 2020, 2021.
Fuck, we've had a full-on life. From last year living in a tent for 10 months to...
I want to get into all this.
Yeah.
We'll get
How much time do we have? Do we need...
3 hours we're cut off. So we've got,
The lights actually turn off.
yeah.
Ryan, can we grab another beer, dude? I'm pretty thirsty tonight.
Yeah. We'll jump out and go in a sec.
So that's... Because I saw that in your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So you did actually live in a tent?
We lived in a tent. Yeah. So was at the time
a metaphorical tent or a literal
little tent,
Ryobi, back of the Brandon tent for the Land Rover.
No, a literal tent. So
hold on, before we end this, so
we
just jump back. So you've had your job and then you were actually in the fashion industry as well yourself for a bit.
I was. So had no desire whatsoever to get into fashion. No desire. I'm sure Dad wasn't a big fan. Dad's like, you work in a Fortune 100 company. Why would you leave that to go and work in a retail space? Like, are you a fucking moron? That's what he actually said. So I arrived in Melbourne. We were in the car driving back home to my parents' house. And Dad was in a foul mood. I was like, what's going on? And he goes, did you leave American Express because you couldn't hack it? I was like, oh fuck!
Oh no!
How have we got there? I'm like, I'm now running a retail business that turns over kind of $5 to $6 million.
What was your role in is it Oscar and
Oscar Hunt?
Oscar Hunt,
managing partner. So I headed up their Sydney business.
Cool.
So the only reason I took Oscar Hunt was very much because Marlo was in retail, and I thought you can't. I honestly didn't think she could be ultimately successful unless she had kind of industry experience
or started the business.
Well, so she started from scratch without having any retail experience. So I thought, if she's going to do this, and we're going to, like, I kind of through my commission at American Express did fairly well. I kind of invested a huge amount of money into her business. I was like, if we're going to keep investing money into a business,
need to learn it.
Then I need to learn about
what's going on.
I need to know what's going on. So we got into the business in the space of kind of 6 months, grew up by 36%.
Wow.
And then, which was crazy because for the last 2 years, they had flatline sales. They couldn't grow it. They spent money on advertising, marketing, new partnerships, people. They had tried fucking everything.
And it's in a very niche market because it was high-end tailored.
High-end tailored suits.
Suits.
High-end tailored suits. And so I was like, you know what? You need to hit LinkedIn. You need to hit Instagram. So sorry to the P. Johnson boys because I love you guys and we're good mates now. But the one thing that I did straight away was I was like, okay, so I got a virtual assistant in and straight away they would literally add all of the people from P. Johnson to my personal account. So everyone that's following P. Johnson, everyone that was following Bespoke Corner, sorry, Miles, and everyone was following all the other tailoring companies. And then so suddenly all of that audience that was
Got their attention.
qualified would come across to us. And suddenly a lot of people didn't know about Oscar Hunt. And then suddenly they're seeing me wave the flag. So in a very short space of time, I was very good at kind of knowing how to attract the right audience across.
We'll build leads.
Build leads.
Build leads.
And so we grew up by 36% in 6 months. Then what happened was it was January 2020 and COVID was happening and I had invested in the business and I thought there was a clause where if I jumped out of the business, I would get 6 weeks worth of pay plus a whole bunch of other things. Or alternatively, if I stayed, then I'd only get a week's worth of pay and I'd lose all of these benefits. So Marlo was in Bali at the time. She's with her girlfriends having a great time.
Yep.
And I called her up. I said,
"Hey, baby, I'm on the way."
Get cool the bintangs off.
No,
Daddy's flying his jet.
no. It was the exact opposite. I said, "Hey, darling," and I could hear the music like, "Hey, babe."
She's that Tropicola. Turn it down.
So I said, "Hey, darling, I just want to let you know I'm thinking of resigning from Oscar Hunt." She says, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Have you heard of this thing called the coronavirus?" And she goes,
Sounds like your story, Luke, actually.
and she goes, "No, not really. What's going on?" I said, "Oh, there's this virus that's probably going to fuck up a lot of people, and they're going to shut down all of Australia for a couple of months. And if I don't resign now, then I'm going to potentially get a week's worth of pay. If I end up kind of getting terminated or whatever ends up happening, I'm going to get this money back. So I'm actually going to resign today." And there was probably 10 seconds, 20 seconds worth of silence. Because I was supporting Marlo's business, right? All of Marlo's, each month that the money was coming in, I was paying for that plus the commission they earned at Amex. And so Marlo kind of said, "Okay, that's, are you sure?" I said, "Yep, I'm resigning." And so I sent through the resignation. That next day, we ended up packing up all of our shit in Sydney into the back of an 8-ton truck ride and then moving back to Melbourne. So by this stage, the COVID actually hadn't, businesses weren't shutting down.
That was January.
January.
Yeah, because
They were preparing.
They were preparing.
Yeah.
But
end of February, first week of March. That's when it was down.
Yeah, and I was like, we have invested too much money into all of this shit. I was like, I don't want to kind of have to. They wanted us to renew the lease. Our lease had just luckily ended at that time.
Yeah, wow.
And I just thought, I like this retail business. For me, it was proof that. So I'd been at Amex, top 1% revenue generator for 4 years.
We'll get into that in a sec.
Yep, and then had gone across to a retail business, grown by 36%, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars in kind of 5.5 months when they hadn't been able to do it. So it was kind of proof to myself that I could do it. And that's more what I was wanting, to go, hold on a second. Shit at school.
Yep.
Shit at university.
Can talk.
Yeah, can talk. And then suddenly I've had this job at Amex, done well. Gone to Oscar Hunt, done well. Okay, I'm onto something.
Yep.
That was what I actually wanted to get out of it. Not the money, not the retail, not growing the business. It was just proof that I could do this in different markets. And so for me, when I had to resign, it was kind of bittersweet because I knew that ultimately, I didn't want to be in the rag trade. Don't get me wrong, I like suiting, but I don't want to do it for the rest of my life.
But now you've got this sales resume that you can apply to somewhere else as well.
100%.
And going back to that Amex top 1% revenue generator for 4 years, that's a great feat. What was the sales process there? What was the...
So after recruitment, Ryan, I need another beer, dude. Can we?
I'll get some beers.
I can go get it.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah.
All right, sure. Cheers, bro. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So left recruitment, went up to Sydney, And I was caught up with my mate, a guy called Max Connolly, and he had his family had this probably 15 to $20 million house in Bronte, overlooking the water, 4 stories, glass elevator. And I wasn't working at the time, and he called me up and he said, "Oh mate, I'm having this massive house party. Do you want to come up for it?" And so this unemployed 22-year-old goes, "Of course, mate. Of course I'll be there."
Why would you say no? What have you got to lose? You don't have work
Hey,
tomorrow.
I'll check my diary. I've got nothing on. So I got on the flight, flew up to Sydney, and I was speaking to this guy. I can't remember his name, but I was speaking to this guy, and I knew he was really successful in real estate. I said, "How have you found sales?" And he goes, "I found sales challenging at the start." Thanks, Ryan. Thanks,
Ryan.
What a man.
Amazing.
What a man.
Ching, ching.
Ching, ching.
My boy.
Where?
Cheers, guys, and thanks for having me on,
Yeah,
by the
no
way.
worries.
I really appreciate
Catch
it.
up.
So I spoke to this guy at this dinner party.
Yep.
And I said, have you found sales? And he had the big gold Rolex on, beautiful, beautiful suit. I think it was actually P. Johnson's suit. Love those boys. And so, beautiful suit on. I was like, hey, how do you find sales? He said, to begin with, it was honestly brutal until I learnt the right skills. Now, this sounds so stupid, but it was like a light bulb moment went off. I was like, because similar to what Luke was saying beforehand, I thought anyone that was in sales was just you just kind of, you had it or you didn't. Yeah. There's no art
like you said,
to it.
just talk.
You just talk.
No. It is, if you're a professional at it, you are a linguistic influencing
100%.
A lot of fucking background work.
Objection handling.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. And so this guy said this, and it was like this light bulb moment. So there's gorgeous girls everywhere. There's gorgeous guys. I was single at the time. And I've gone in this glass elevator down to level 2 into this basement. And I've sat there on my computer on Seek and applied for all of these roles.
Wait, you're at this guy's house on Seek?
On Seek at a party, an epic party. And I've just had this light bulb moment. It's like, okay, you can actually learn sales. It's actually a skill.
This was for Amex.
This is for the job at Amex that I ended up getting.
Yeah.
Applied for the job, heard back from this guy called Craig, literally 3 weeks later. I was sitting at home in bed. And I think it's really important to tell this story because this is something that I wasn't born as a good salesperson. I'm very far from it. But the one thing that I did have from the start was a good work ethic. So I was at home watching Netflix. I remember it distinctively. And I got a call from Craig. And it was an 02 number. So I kind of knew it was probably American Express because I only applied for one role. And Craig answered. I just knew in that moment that I had to impress him. And the thing that I need to get was just an interview. So I thought, I don't need to do too much. I just need him to like me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I need to show enough promise that he thinks that I need to get in for an interview. And then at the end of that call, Craig says, "Hey, I'd love to get you into interview with Ash and Michelle for American Express." And so I was really excited, really pumped. I thought, you know what? I've gone to school, haven't done well. Gone to uni, haven't done well. Gone to recruitment, just persevered for 2 years. Made a little bit of commission, but I hadn't made a huge amount. If I'm going to do this, I really need to learn the art of selling.
Balls to the wall.
I need to go balls to the wall, 100%. Need to go all in. And so for the next probably 12 months, every day, I was studying human psychology, human behavior, bit of Jordan Belfort, because I know that you're into straight line. Grant Cardone, I got into it at the time as well.
Cardone is the man.
The GC.
He's a good dude.
The godfather of sales.
Yeah. It's debatable. I actually believe he is a better marketer.
He's a better marketer, 100%.
He's an awesome businessman.
He's
Totally
just a good-
great.
I like him as a dude.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Totally great. And so I, for that next 6 months, next 12 months, studied it day in, day out. Joined the company.
Did you do much NLP stuff?
A little bit.
And was this external? Did
External.
AMX hook you up with any training?
Nothing. The training at
Fucking
Amex
blows my mind how these companies
Same.
do not train their staff in sales.
that's why I'm doing it now, dude.
Yeah,
Set up to fail.
Seriously, it is
best return on investment you'd ever get, mate.
It's a lifeblood of every business, right? And so I studied it and studied it and studied. So I joined this team, and in the first 6 months, everyone within this team hadn't hit target. I was the only one that had hit target.
What were you selling?
We're selling kind of foreign exchange. We're selling business cards. We're doing kind of what's the other thing? unsecured finance, so people could effectively get a loan for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months for their business. So it was like business finance, foreign exchange, cards, and unsecured lending.
Yep.
So those three things. So effectively calling up people and saying, hey,
was there a script? No script.
So break it down from the process. So like you got your leads. They were existing Amex customers or external?
So the leads were, any lead's a good lead. Like that's why I've always viewed it. Like any lead's a good lead. Like everyone kept bitching, complaining that the leads weren't good. I was like, fuck, the fact that you have leads and at recruitment.
Any lead's a good lead, but you have to qualify them
100%
for them to
then be a
correct.
An adequate lead.
Yes. 100%. So I literally would just go, well, how would I do it? So we get a certain amount of leads in, and then those leads, and we just had like a whole database of people that had expressed interest in, so it was low-hanging fruit to begin with. I was like, all of the people that had expressed interest in American Express beforehand, but hadn't applied. So I spoke to the marketing team and effectively got them to print out a list, not a print out a list, send me through an Excel spreadsheet of all the people that applied. And so this was the strangest thing. And if you want to be good in sales, out of all the skills that you said beforehand, Luke, it's the easiest to make money in, because the majority of people, like, so Tom Brady, he's won 7 Super Bowls. Who knows if he'll win an 8th? But the thing that he does to be successful is he trains every day.
Yep.
Why the fuck in sales do people not train? They just go by simply...
I've learned it, let's do it.
I've learned it, let's do it.
Don't need to do it ever again.
It's so strange. It's the only industry, I reckon, in the world with marketers, like they're constantly upselling about lead generation.
Pilots, doctors, all have to do constant tests.
Sports people?
Yeah, sports people.
Consistently training.
But why is that? Like, is it... Actually, I'd be keen to hear your thoughts. Why don't salespeople, for the most part, feel like they train? Or why don't they train?
I think that they are training slightly because they're doing the same thing every day. However, it's the constant improvement. And that just comes down to, like, in a company, if you have good values, whether it's your company or you're working for someone who is. And then, second of all, if you're actually, like, personally, your values are to constantly grow, because you did all the extra study on the side. I was doing all the extra study on the side, and I literally, because I got to spend that week with Jordan Belford before he was famous.
Oh, really?
And I remember I had all these shares, and I sold all my shares. It was 10 grand just to buy the course, and it was one of the best investments I've ever made in myself ever. So, like, but people are either worried, whether it be the employer for training their team or the actual salesperson themselves. They get a fat comms check, and then they go buy a fucking car instead of reinvesting it into some other knowledge that they can even crush even further.
Well, I think that's the one thing that people are scared about spending money on is investing in themselves and improving themselves. You go out and you spend $500 to $600 on the weekend, pissing it up the wall, go to the casino, spend $1,000, and you're like, oh fuck, I had a good time though.
Why do you believe that is though?
People are more infatuated with having a good time than looking at the longer picture of investing in themselves, and bettering themselves. Like
or do you think it's an element? And sorry to interrupt, but do you think it's an element also that I have, like, met sales trainers as well, and we had them at Amex, and they were fucking horseshit.
Yeah, they were shit.
They were shit, and they were like what you called me beforehand, which I had to rebut on. You call me a guru. I was like, no, I'm not a fucking self-proclaimed guru. but you know what I mean? And they come in and they talk to you about the entire time of psychology of sales. I go, I'll tell you what. If you show me something that works, like an actual script or a technique or a formula where I get results, fuck the psychology of sales and, like, priming myself. That's going to lead me to get more and more and more sales. So I think for the reason why I feel like at the moment in this personal development space, while there is a lot of people that are skeptical, is there are a lot of people out there that are honestly dog shit.
Yeah. Well,
would you agree, or am I
no, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Most of the time, though, they've never done the work. They're
100%.
regurgitating other people's stuff they've seen.
Totally great.
It doesn't take much to find someone on YouTube and
Google
regurgitate the pitch.
Yeah.
And literally, there's people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars doing that per year. It's when you actually... So when I have done sales training and when we do sales training for clients in the past when I had my consulting business, literally, I would do the call right in front of them.
Yep.
With the script that I made.
Yep.
And testing and testing and testing.
Did you do sales training before you ran?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I
didn't know that.
I'm straight line qualified. So
you can actually be
that's so
qualified
dope,
for
by the
straight.
way.
yeah, you can get qualified in it.
Wow.
So,
That's
but
awesome.
like literally,
That is awesome.
I was doing it because how the fuck I'm not going to write this script that I've never tested on anything.
Exactly
Because
right.
everything's so different. So literally, I would sit down and I'd call with the sales team,
Yep.
watching me fail,
Yep.
watching me take notes and change my tonality,
Yep.
and then getting all right, and then inserting those language patterns, and then I'd get it. And then they're like, fuck. And I said, there you go, boys or
Yep.
girls.
Yep.
Let's rock and roll. And then it was role playing.
Seriously, it's massive.
And practicing objections.
Yeah.
Because
Well, that's through
you
role
can have
playing.
a script, but someone could throw an objection or a curveball your way, and then you have to go off script. And
But-
you have to know how to then hold that conversation and bring it back on track to what you want to sell this person, or explain to them a feature and benefit of getting the outcome that you want.
Totally agree.
100%.
Totally
The other
agree.
thing as well, I think the real reason people don't invest in themselves, they're fucking scared that they're not good enough and they're going to fail and everyone's going to make fun of them. That is actually, I think, the underlying.
What do you mean? As in they're going to...
I don't believe, I'm not going to spend 10 grand
Yeah.
because I don't think I'm actually going to really succeed and be successful in that.
What if
And
it doesn't
and
work?
so I'm going
And
to.
is that belief in themselves?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I'd
I'd agree with that.
And because I'm going to spend $500 on the weekend with my friends and have a good party.
Yeah.
Everyone loves me, but I'm not going to I'm going to commit to something that's not hanging out with my
Correct.
friends or being social, which is out of the norm.
Correct.
I'm going to back myself in a big, it's 10 grand, substantial amount of money, and I could fail.
Yep.
I don't like that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And I think that is the underlying thing is the biggest block in that, because it fucking happened to me.
I
remember paying that money. I had butterflies, I was racing, shitting myself.
So you paid 10 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And it was like everything I had. I went down there.
And so talk me through that. So what was the moment where you thought, I've got to do this?
Because I was doing the same shit over and over again and nothing was changing.
And expecting a different result.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of my sayings is when you
was-
change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So in order to get knowledge,
Gandhi.
you have to do that.
Yoda.
and so I got down there. I was out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I was challenged.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. Probably one of the best things, apart from the language protocols and loops and tonality, was actually structuring deals in negotiation. That's probably. I literally was sitting there learning about options and how to negotiate deals, and my fucking eyes almost fell out of my. I could feel neural pathways connecting in my head. So now I will put together deals. This is a part of the thing about overcoming objections, because hey, no, we can't get this deal across the line. No worries. Well, how about we do something else? Like, let's say, for a realistic example is customer doesn't want to buy that much stock, and then they want to delay a launch of something, and you're like, no worries. Well, what do you think you can actually sell? This much. All right, that's your order. Cool. I'm backing you this much over with 200-day terms, but it needs to be installed by that date because there's no risk to you. We're supporting you on the back end, and the deal's done. They're like, oh my God, yeah, absolutely, bang, done. So
Manufacturing deals on the fly, basically. Like you need to customize it to that person and overcome their objection.
Making them feel safe.
Yeah.
Meeting all their goals, adding massive value.
That's a massive thing, is explaining features and benefits. And I'm a massive believer that you can have any product you want. You can have someone, you could be a car salesman, for example. People come to you to buy your product. They come to you, you know that they want to buy a car, or else they wouldn't be in a car yard looking at cars. But if you can't sell yourself to that person, because people buy off emotion.
Totally
if you can't
agree.
sell yourself to that person, you can't get that person to like you, you'll never sell anything in your life.
Well, there's three things in the straight line anyway, because I'm sure we've all got different backgrounds here. This is why I was really excited about this
I'm really
chat.
excited too. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So there's three things. You need to love the person you're dealing with. You need to love the product.
Yep.
And you need to love the company or the brand. If you are not 7 out of 10
Spoken like JB himself.
yeah, if you are not 7 if you're not 7 out of 10 on all of them, then because at the end of the day, when you really think about that, so I can go into my favorite shoe store
Yep.
and love the brand, love the fucking product, salesperson's dick.
Seriously.
Or
That's what I mean. You
has
won't buy
bad
from it.
breath or has like
Odor.
like it makes the biggest difference. So I'll go, no worries, not buying that day.
Yep.
The only other reason why, if all those three line up, the only reason why they will not buy from you and they'll always say, oh, yeah, let me think about it,
Yep.
I'll ask my partner, is because they actually don't have the money. And no one is ever admitting to you that you don't have the money because it's embarrassing.
Yep.
So if you qualifying them right, then you should never get to that. Or if you've done the right thing and they're not actually in a financial position, or you can actually arrange a deal to have them financed through it or whatever. If you've done the right thing and you've been ethical, they will come back to you.
Yep.
And that's changing the way, again, they're viewing a salesperson, because you're actually trying to help them, you're actually trying to add value to their life. Otherwise, there's no point in pursuing it. That's what my thoughts are on it anyway.
Totally agree.
How would you go about that in regards to having someone like you? Because I don't think, we spoke about this last week, TJ, I don't think someone needs to like you. They need to respect you.
Yeah. And this is a really interesting thing. I think in this marketplace, and I said this on a LinkedIn Live that I was running the other week, it's called How to Create a Crazy Amount of Leads. I said, gone are the days where you want to do business with someone purely because you like them. I want to be doing business with people that are the best in their field.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can show me through testimonies, you can show me through your business, how you generate results 100%, and I'm fucking buying from you.
Yep.
But gone are the days
And
where
I'll generally like you as well, because you're a badass motherfucker to get all that stuff done.
seriously,
Exactly right.
and that's like the cherry on top. Or it's like the prerequisite for getting on the field is I have to like you for us to even engage in a conversation to do business. But that's a prerequisite now. And
it needs to be more than that.
it has to be more than that.
I love it. I hurt people's feelings. Like, it's a part of it. Like, your business is shit, and this is shit. This is the bad problem. I want you to feel that pain.
Yeah. And let me share.
Because I'm going to fix on the back end.
My favorite was I spoke to this guy. He called me up the other day. He's like, hey, I would love to do digital marketing for you. He Facebook messaged me. And so I was like, you know what? Like, it was just at the time where I'm looking at doing digital marketing. I'll get some thoughts from you a bit later on that. But I was like, you know what? I need to start spending some money. Since starting the business only 12 months ago, organically grown it. We now have over 100 plus business owners in Australia that are on the community, plus a couple in Singapore and Japan. And then I brought on 22 corporate clients. And that has all been through purely sales. But I go, to get to the next level, there needs to be a hybrid between selling and actual digital marketing.
Well, marketing is building that pipeline, and sales is closing
the deals,
And so this guy said to him, I said, how important is advertising to your business? And he goes, he goes, like, it's everything. Like, every business needs to be spending money on advertising. I said, interesting. And how much money do you spend on advertising your own business each month? And he goes, no money at all. We're referral-based business only.
That's good.
And I thought to myself,
but
what
you gotta do more.
Fuck? Like, you're
missing out on 80% of sales.
No, but I also...
depends on the business. It depends, though. It depends on the business. It could be a one-off client and own a referral, and they make $100 million comms on it, you know?
but I also thought it's like...
I want to sell what he's selling.
That's why it's referral. Nah.
But it's like, you're actually... What he was trying to sell me on is actually his ability to sell, persuade, and influence. And in that call, what he made me realise was that the only thing that's actually leading to him getting more sales is him selling. It's not his digital marketing, because he doesn't spend any money on digital marketing. So I think, it's really interesting at the moment. We're in this marketplace where... selling is becoming more and more important. People are getting excited by websites and chatbots and digital marketing, but the one thing that consistently is, as you said, that turns the dial on revenue is sales.
Correct. So it's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, 100%.
It really is.
100%.
In business, you can cut all the costs you want. If you're not making a fucking dollar, you're broke and you're going bankrupt.
Totally great.
So, Hugh, circling back to the COVID situation, getting back on track.
Well, I think we should finish off Amex first.
Let's go.
So,
Amex.
how did you become the top 1%?
For 4 years.
Yeah, for 4 years. And what does that look like?
And how many people were there?
There was one.
It was me. I started it.
No, there was so when I started, there was probably a team of about 32.
Yep.
And by the time I ended up leaving, there was probably a team of about 200 plus.
Yeah, wow.
And so effectively, the biggest thing that I just saw was one, the people were the one thing that people weren't doing was putting in the work.
Yep.
They weren't treating it like a profession. Like if you're a sporting athlete like TJ, and still like you still play footy.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, just so like you train for it. And so for me, I would practice in the morning, I'd practice in the afternoon, I'd role play. And then I would literally block out my day in blocks and I would make calls. And so I would find out what the top performer was doing within the company. And I think they were making like 50 calls a day. So I'd make 100 calls a day. I would just literally double.
Strength in numbers.
And then so on top of that, I then become quite clever in terms of making sure that I'd look at the low hanging fruits, all the people that applied beforehand to have some sort of affiliation with American Express. So for me, it was very, very much about outworking the top performer, seeing what industry they were hitting and what was working well for them. And then third of all, going, how do I be cleverer than that person?
Cleverer.
If that's even a word. Nope. But be more clever than the person that was, the top performer, and figuring out how I could get sales in a shorter period of time. So within the space of 12 months, I think was the top performer within the business, which is the first time it ever happened. The second year, the same again. The third year, the same again. The fourth.
When did you know you're like, fuck yeah, I got this?
This is my shit.
Oh, to the point where I would literally sit up on my desk with my feet up on my desk, or I'd book out a boardroom. And
I would have had you in an office by then.
Well, no. No. Technically, there's an office out the back in 333 Collins in Melbourne, where I would literally sit in there. No one would say anything to me because I just knew that I was the one that was bringing revenue for the company. And I would sit in there all day just making calls. And I would get to a point where I'd close my eyes, put my feet on the desk, and I would make calls. And I knew how the call was going to go. And I knew I'd be able to close the person.
It's that rhythm.
And then suddenly got to a point where they created a role for me, which was a role where effectively I was training the 200 plus people across American Express about how to sell. And I would do the same thing as Luke. I would go in there and opposed to going, this is theoretically how you do it.
If this person says this, say this back.
I'd be like, hey, give me a list of 10 people. And on a conference call, I would call call those
learning.
10 people, and they would listen. And then suddenly you would have people in droves like messaging me, calling me, wanting to have chats with me. Hey, Hugh.
Because you're actually fucking doing it.
You're actually fucking doing it.
And they've seen it.
Off the back of you're saying, I have my eyes closed, feet on the desk. I think that's awesome because confidence is a massive part of sales as well. You have 100%. To be confident.
Well, changing your state.
Yep. 100%. Because there's so many people that go into the role so timid and about what people are going to say to them or what they're going to say back to them, or they're going to fuck it up. But you're going to fuck up. And
in saying this as well, not everyone's loud, boisterous people like us. I have met people who are wildly successful salespeople who are really quietly spoken. And that,
but
even on the phones,
tonality
is everything.
But their knowledge on product would be through the roof.
Yes, to some degree. But on that, I'd say to actually, you go.
No, I was going to say, your knowledge on tech aspects does not need to be shit. If I am selling something I have no idea on, I am the salesperson. I'm influencing them to make a positive decision in order to move them forward.
Gearing them into the answer.
I'm bringing a fucking tech guy with me to answer all the tech questions.
Point. Yeah, but
and then I'm wrapping up the pain points. I'm wrapping up the positive of going and making a decision.
Yep.
And what that cost is if they don't make that decision.
Yep.
And if that doesn't actually suit them, I qualify them out. I'm like, everything you just told me today, you are not the right person for us.
100%.
Goodbye. And you know what they're like? Oh my God, no, I'm ready. I'm ready. Like, give it to me.
Yep.
Rejection. You chase.
Well, and going back to our conversation last week, one of I think the best things I learned in sales were the impulses that people buy on as well. So you need to work out what that person's pain point is.
Yeah.
And then hone in on that.
Or if they have any, and this is logic. Because I'm the worst salesperson to ever deal with. I love buying.
Yeah, because you look behind what they're saying and why they're saying it to you.
Well, no, if you're trying to sell me something that I don't want to buy.
Yep.
And it's a bad day, you're fucked. I'll tear you to pieces. I am very respectful to other salespeople.
Yeah.
Like, if everyone in the office, we got like 4 spam calls last week, and they're like, "You are so polite." I went, "You know what?
I recognize the grind. Yeah.
I've been there, and again, I'm like, qualify, bruh. Bye."
Yeah.
And I've been through that pain. I literally don't. If I want to buy something, I'm the most engaged. I'm like, sell me. I will enjoy the ride.
Yep.
Take me through everything. I'll go into
the bathroom quickly, boys.
You're right. I'll go through those in-depth, like, because I know that if I'm going to buy something, I know my tech side as well. So I'll get really fucking deep into whatever I want to buy. And if that salesperson doesn't know it, I'm like, bruh,
why don't you know this?
You're off.
Yeah.
Like, so how do I know? And I'll just like stitch them. I love fucking with people like that. But it gets to the point, I'm like, listen, I'm going to buy it. This is what I'm prepared to buy it at. If you're not, And if it's a fair deal, I'll absolutely do it.
Yep.
But I'm not going to fucking
You're not going to
screw
rort
them.
them, yeah.
Not going to rort them.
It's good that you understand the process behind that too, because like you said, I'm so respectful to salespeople, whether they're selling me internet and I know they're not from Australia, or whether they want to like a blood donation.
I literally, what fucking grinds my gears is when I have a person who is on a script, who has not listened and like heard and actually
What you're
listened, which
saying.
is comprehending the other person speaking, and then continues to go down that. I'm just talk over him and I get.
That's when the conversation.
And I was like, bro, and they just like, well, what? They had to literally snap out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
because they're reading.
What
from
did
a piece
I
of
just
paper.
say? And again, real good salespeople, they should read from the piece of paper. However, you are adapting that script the whole way through.
I don't believe that entirely. I feel like
I didn't,
the
and I'll tell you why. After you, I want to hear your thoughts.
I think the script is important to begin with, but then you make that your own. You can't be a robot.
No.
You can't read like, "Hello, sir, madam. I hope you are good today."
Let me define what I mean by script. Okay. There are certain language protocols.
Yes.
That we use with tonality.
Yep.
Influence people. It's psychology.
Yep.
It
works.
fucking works.
It works. Yeah.
So there are certain language protocols that I have learnt.
Yep.
Which I loop back into automatically now, which gets people on, and that it goes back into a language pattern.
Yep.
And we loop back around. If you are reading, "Hello, Mr. Wall."
Yep.
Would you like to buy my stuff today? No.
Yeah.
It is not working.
Yep.
And the only reason why your script is because if anyone flusters you, no, exactly, and then you can go straight back on the language pattern.
Yep.
I agree with you.
Yep.
People who read scripts word for word, and you have to adapt it to your language as well.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying just then,
tonality is the most important thing. I
people
believe.
have different ways
Thanks,
of
bro.
speaking and articulating sentences, and it needs to be your personality.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Hold on. Where were we at?
We were still on American Express.
That's right.
4 years, top one gen.
Yeah. So were you managing sales people as well, or you?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference. I love it how people in sales are like, I want to be the manager, and you're like, managing, and then they become the manager, and then 4 months, and then 4 months later they're fired because managing salespeople is the fucking hardest job in the world.
You need to produce their results. If they're not getting results,
all my bosses and all my sales mentors whoever managed me, if they could call it managing, I feel absolutely sorry for. I'm the worst motherfucker to manage ever.
100%. Yeah. So
we all. Oh no, you'd be a good boy.
No, fuck. I am a handful. Handful.
So what ended up happening was like
But I get results.
Yeah. So we're coming back to it. You were visualizing your stuff. You started training all these people. Were you still doing your sales, or did they go, you're managing?
No, still doing sales. And so effectively, I kind of said to the business, like I didn't want to move away from selling. Like it gave me so much energy.
And you're probably making good money from it as well.
Fucking great money.
Yeah.
Like, for a fortune.
What type of figures were you making, if you want to disclose?
Like good 6-figure salary, enough to like look after Marlo
With a
myself.
2 in front?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
More than that.
Yeah, cool. Unreal.
Wow.
Top 1%. That,
you're getting results. Why would they not benefit you? Like, why would they not?
And just to put it in perspective as well, most people don't know this. If you earn over $120,000 a year, you're in the top 1%.
100%. And
Wait, what?
And let me just
top 1% in the world.
Income earner.
And let me just say this, just to give you some context. Over that period, the top 1% revenue generators within the company, some of them were making up to kind of $500,000, $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
considerable amount of money. So the reason
And for someone that's you weren't old at all. Like that's a lot of money.
24, 25-year-old kid.
That's
It's like, man, did you spend your money wisely there? Because I did not. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
That's why I Uber X'd over here.
Excellent.
No, that's not true. So effectively, I said to Maddie Edwards at the time, who's the director, I said, hey, like, I don't want to be a manager. Like, is there something in between that? And effectively, we kind of came up with this concept called a national sales manager, which was effectively became more than that, which was like looking after the sales team in Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines. We're building up the call centers.
So you were managing people?
But I was managing people like indirectly whilst having an individual sales target so I could still make commission.
So you were managing the sales process.
So I was managing the sales process effectively.
Yeah.
So I then moved from Melbourne to Sydney with a promotion. Actually, at the time, Marlo and I were in Paris. We were in Paris, and Marlo didn't know that I actually had got the promotion to Sydney. And so I was like, how do I ensure that...
Is that where you dropped a knee?
That's where I dropped a name.
You got the knee down. So how long have you and Marlo been together for? That sounds like a
We'd been
rather
together
long
for a
time.
year and a half.
Oh.
A very short period of time, but I knew that I was an absolute...
At that time?
At that time.
Yeah. Yep.
I was an absolute degenerate without Marlo. Like,
Shout out Marlo.
Marlo is amazing. She's so good. So, yeah, I just knew I couldn't... It was the first woman that I couldn't live without her. I was like, she just makes me a better person. So in Paris, New Year's night at the Shangri-La, it was 12 o'clock, got down on one knee, proposed to her, fireworks went off, it was really beautiful. And then the next day I said
Well
to her,
done, sir. Well done.
thank you, mate. And so
I hope my girlfriend's not watching this.
Yeah, no, you set the bar for all of us.
Jesus.
I'm already getting pressure.
And that's the bit of chat for today.
that's all right. Yeah. We can cut stuff out anyway.
No, we can't.
So then literally the next day I said, hey, Marlo, I said, darling, how do you feel about moving to Sydney? And she goes, oh, I could see myself moving to Sydney a couple of years. I said, oh, well, I've just got this promotion to move up to Sydney. I guess you're coming with me. So literally I moved up to Sydney for the next 3 months. Marlo and I did long distance and then moved up to Sydney for the new role. And was doing that with Amex for about 5 years. And then suddenly Marlo decided after the honeymoon, 7 weeks in Europe, she decided that she didn't want to be a senior project manager for Isobar anymore. And I was kind of a bit dumbstruck. I was like, fuck, you're earning really good money as a senior project manager for one of the largest media companies in the world. We have an amazing lifestyle. We just paid for like 7 weeks in Europe where we were staying in like amazing 5-star hotels.
Not slumming it.
Yeah.
Like every night, like beautiful cars. Like, well, I was like, we have a fucking ridiculous lifestyle.
Yeah.
And Marlo said to me, she comes back and she goes, I just can't do this anymore. And in the moment I said to her, hey, darling, like in a week's time, if you decide that this is still not the thing for you, then resign. Like, then resign.
Think about it, lady.
Think about it. So I was like, you know what?
Marlo.
Maybe a week will pass. Yeah, Marlo. And so I thought maybe a week will pass and maybe she might change her mind. And I remember it was a Sunday morning, she rolled over to me and she gave me this big smile.
I'm quitting.
I thought it was a fuck. That's what I subconsciously heard. I'm quitting. And I said, you're resigning, aren't you? She goes, yeah, I'm resigning.
Good on her. Good on her.
Because that's a massive step too.
Yeah.
100%. And
Because people get caught in that little wedge,
Being comfortable.
earning good money, good lifestyle, but it's not what they want to do.
Yep.
not what they want to do. And so so Marlo then started her business journey. I was still working in the company, ended up taking the job at Oscar Hunt, doing that for 6 months. And then, a whole bunch of other things happened.
Dad sprayed you. Dad sprayed you in the back
What?
for quitting the job.
Quitting the job at Oscar
I was
Hunt.
like, what?
Yeah. Dad sprayed me for quitting Amex to go to Oscar Hunt.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
What did he say?
he just effectively said, you're a fucking idiot. Like you're earning incredible money. Like why would you go and work for this retail business that is? And I told him because I was honest about it. I was like, it's flatlined for the last 2 years. I was like, that's the best thing.
Yeah, I'm not appreciating.
I mean-
I'm not promoting myself. I'm not getting any better.
Yeah, I'm not getting better. Like I'd hit the ceiling and all. So I was like, if Marlo's going to do this successfully, then I need to kind of learn about the industry. So Dad sprays me. I got Oscar Hunt, do that for 6 months, and then the virus hits.
And then you
How
went
for the time, by the way.
Oh no, we're fine on time.
Good.
And then I saw you're involved with a thing called Cub.
Yeah, Club of United Business.
Yeah.
So got back to Melbourne with no job. Was living in a family friend's house. This beautiful kind of 4-5 bedroom house. Like that was just
Just a nice friend.
very nice friend. Rosalie, you're amazing. Thank you. So we stayed at her house for it was meant to be a month. And then obviously we had the 180-day lockdown. So it went from,
Wow.
a month to 5 months.
So
So
you can't
Rosalie-
really be like, hey.
yeah, well, she couldn't even move into it. So we were like the beneficiaries.
All right.
Oh my god.
And so I got a call from a guy called Anthony Mullane who said, hey, we want you to kind of be involved in our business. And we saw you did at Amex and Oscar Hunt. Would you like to be involved? And I just thought to myself, what a fucking disaster of an opportunity selling a bricks and mortar membership in the middle of a global pandemic.
Yep.
I was like, what a fucking like.
It's
Where's
great.
the market?
It's a great concept. So, do you want to explain the concept of the business?
Great concept, great business, by the way. That the guys, Daniel and Calvin, the whole team, amazing people. Great
Explain what it
business.
is.
So it's a networking club for business owners that want to grow and extend their network. So if you're in Melbourne, you can build your relationships with people in Melbourne that are businesses between $2 and $50 million, and same in Sydney.
But they actually had a brick and mortar place so you can go and hang out. It has
Like
like
a club
facilities.
room.
Yeah, so you can go and do
build
conferences.
relationships,
or
all
whatever.
that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Wow.
So for me, I was
Not
like,
practical during COVID.
not very practical.
Club room has cobwebs.
That's putting it politely. So Anthony calls me about this opportunity. It's like, oh, like this sounds like this.
When's this? March?
This is probably I had like 3 or 4 months off. Where it was like I was kind of like letting it play out.
Lockdown finish?
No, lockdown was still.
Oh, you're in Melbourne. It was locked down for 2 years.
Yeah, lockdown was lockdown was well and truly happening.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like tentative about it. I was like, you know what? We've got enough money to kind of live quite comfortably for the next 12 months. But I was like, the one thing that I feel like is missing, gone to Amex, been a top 1% revenue generator, been very good at sales, gone to Oscar Hunt, been very good at sales. My network from uni and school is pretty good, but the network, I think, is a thing that I'm missing in terms of my bow. I was like, just having a really extensive network. And so for me, when I joined the business, it didn't actually make sense. Like it really, like with all the other opportunities that were kind of presenting themselves, I was like, this doesn't actually make the most amount of sense in paper in terms of financially. But in terms of at some stage, I didn't know it would be 12 months later to start my own business. I was like, at some stage, these relationships will pay dividends.
Yep.
And so I ended up signing on the dotted line, joined Cub as well.
What was your role there?
Membership director. So
Cool.
effectively kind of bringing new business.
Sales.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
And
As
how
a
did
sales
these different names for
practitioner.
sales?
How did you do that? Because again, you're selling a membership to a club that didn't exist or was not inhabitable. So
I saw it, and this is the thing that a lot of the team didn't see. I was like, when you're selling a membership club, when things are normal, it's a luxury.
Yeah.
When you are selling a membership club, which we then end up converting to connections online, via telephone, via SMS, via WhatsApp, it suddenly becomes a necessity. Every business is freaking the fuck out about whether they're going to survive or not. Connectivity, relationships, community has never been more important.
Especially online.
So I was like, this has never been a better time.
Yep.
So in the space of...
So this was the leap across to
Online
digital sales.
Digital sales. This is where I suddenly...
That's why when I was researching, I was like, that motherfucker.
That's where...
He saw an ad.
That's where I saw the gap in the market. And so I was like, this is just going to be... I still had doubts because yes, I had 6 years or 7 years of doing well, but I think from school and university had a lot of self-doubt. That was something that was kind of innately and probably will be in me to the end of time, regardless of how successful I am or aren't successful.
It doesn't change.
It doesn't
it's
change.
the same as when you call up a random big lead. I still get fucking nervous.
100%.
I still get scared. It doesn't change. It's
You don't know. You're
seriously.
walking
it's whether
into
you
the
can
unknown.
overcome your fear
or
and
not.
execute.
It's a really good point.
Yeah, and execute it and do the work.
Yep.
So sorry, continue.
And so suddenly in the first month I joined and I had that kind of fear and the trepidation, like would I be successful. In the first month I had a target of it was 0. I think I brought on 4 members. The following month I had a target of 2. I brought on 8 members. And then suddenly I think...
What are these worth? How big is the sale?
So, and not a huge amount of money, like $6,000, $7,000 per person. So I was bringing about 50 to 60 grand worth of revenue.
Yeah.
But to put it in
What were your comms on that? Were you only doing comms or you salary plus?
just for this conversation, I won't go into it.
No,
just
that's
for,
fine.
For business.
Yeah.
But so it was bringing $60,000 to $70,000, and this was all pure personal lead gen. So they bring in $70,000 every single month in the middle of a lockdown. Call it $1 million a year we're bringing in.
Awesome.
I was like, this is a fucking lot of money. And Cub had only been around for 4 years at the time, 5 years at the time. Didn't have a big brand.
I saw it. It's like 6 mil rev business.
Yeah, so they're doing well now, and but they kind of didn't have a brand. It was very much about personal brands, about being liked. It was selling via Zoom, and And all of these people were buying into me. There was Cub was like the beneficiary, was like the cherry on top. But the thing that I saw, there was like they wanted to know that someone was going to genuinely look after them.
Yeah.
And so for me, over that
Add value,
provide connections, make sure that they're successful, and even at times it wasn't about making introductions. It was they need to feel supported. They need to feel like someone
At a very tedious time as well.
At a tedious time,
Yeah.
and so. The one thing that I was always good at was making sure that I would deliver on what I promised on. And so for that 12-month period, like I kicked ass, I got really good results. And so we were in December, Marlo said to me, she's like, hey, I'd love to travel around Australia. And I was like, hey, I've got this job. And she's like, but you've been selling online for the last 9 months. Like, why would it be any different? So I said to Daniel, hey, mate, I'm wanting to kind of go and travel around Australia with Marlo. We've been selling during the pandemic, all virtually, bringing in like 60, 70 grand, 80 grand worth of revenue every month. Why would it be any different? So Daniel's like, yeah, mate, go do it. And we were in this secluded beach in Tomahawk in Tasmania. It was a population of 60, really bad reception, at like really fucking bad reception. And I remember that afternoon I was sitting, so I had like one of those fold-out tables from Bunnings. There was no one else around, and I had my earpods in. I had my phone on the top of the Land Rover Defender roof rack, so it would get reception. And in that 2-week period while we're there, lying on the beach, I had sold $70,000 worth of like new sales. The other guy in Melbourne had sold like a quarter of that. And I thought, hold on a second. Like I've done ding, like I'm onto something, and then I knew where the business was wanting to go back to Cub. And this is the limitation for every business. Just because you have real estate doesn't mean that's the thing that you need to hold on to. So for Cub, I saw their limiting factor was they had a physical location in Melbourne. They had a physical location in Sydney. So that's
where they were selling.
That's where they were selling. And I was like, at the end of the day, people don't give a fucking shit whether it's in Sydney, Melbourne, we've got members in Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan. People just want to connect with like-minded business owners and do business. And after the acceleration of COVID, I was like, there is a huge gap in the market for business owners connecting geographically across Australia and around the world. And second of all, I did a survey before I started the business with all Cub members. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is sales to the success of your business? 10 being the most important. What do you reckon out of the...
If anyone said 10 that wasn't important, they're all bankrupts.
I would love to. I want to know what the result
They
is.
fucking shouldn't be in business.
So
what was the median?
TJ, so 38 said 10, 1 said 9, 1 said 8.
That's a good result.
Is that what you would have thought as well?
I would. That should be, have been 41 or whatever it was, but I didn't think that would have been the result.
So the interesting thing on this, and this is where it got really interesting for me, was I said, so knowing that it is a 10 in terms of importance or a 9 or an 8, how much time do you spend on upskilling each and every month? And every single business owner said nothing. And I was like, oh my God, there is a huge gap in the market. So effectively, I started the digital sales community because I just knew that there was no one in the marketplace doing this.
Yep.
And effectively...
Explain how the digital sales community works as well, because I had a quick look online, and obviously I've known you for a bit now, but like just want to explain like how, the whole concept.
Yeah. Actually, no, this should be good market research for me as well while we're on here. When you look at the digital sales community, what do you believe you get from it?
For the amount of time I have looked at it, which was probably less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
For what I gather from watching your socials and knowing you, because even when we've been out having a drink, we haven't really spoken about business much at all.
Not at all.
It's all been social and...
We won't get into it.
Fun.
Yeah. But it was...
High-level conversation.
So all of your... so all the stuff I've seen is about you helping develop sales strategies, for example, leads, systems or procedures in order to execute on those sales, and then also networking different companies that may be able to work with each other, or a community of people who are in sales who want to learn from yourself as well as each other.
you've spoken almost like a DEC rep.
Well done, Luke.
So
Research, my first radio.
And I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people say, like, why haven't you gone down the route of just doing an online business, or why haven't you gone on the route of just doing sales training? And so for me in this day and age, I go, the two things that every business owner needs is a community of business owners to do business with, to leverage off, to seek advice from. And second of all, actually, no, three things. Second of all, with a lot of these platforms like LinkedIn, for example, all of the reach is organic.
Do you still use LinkedIn?
All the time.
LinkedIn and TikTok are the two best organic reaches at the moment. Nothing's comparable.
100%. So we're creating every single month. My virtual assistant, Judify.
What's her name?
Judify, the absolute goat. Judify Flores.
Judify, that's a different name.
It's a great name. So Judify, she generates from LinkedIn 240 warm leads a month.
That's impressive.
A month just from LinkedIn. So for me, it was like, okay, the other thing was with all these platforms, digital. I was like, how do you actually get the digital sales community members to promote their business? So now if they have 110 members liking every time they put a post on LinkedIn, then suddenly that gets seen by more and more and more and more people. So the community element is very much about their support, hacking their success, but most importantly, giving them tools to scale their business. I'm not sure if you saw any of the testimonies, but we've had some members that in the space of 3 months have grown their business by 350%.
And how do they do this? Like
by implementing the strategies each week. So each week they learn a specific lesson. It might be around lead generation. It might be around follow up. It might be around.
So you teach the lesson and then give an implementation plan afterwards for them to then
100% and then tailor it towards every industry. So that we've got people. We've got the second largest family-run security company in Australia. We've got the largest fumigation business in the world. We've got the largest promotion business in Australia.
Cool.
We've got some like a really diverse group of members.
How did you get some of those leads? Because like to get clients like that. What? Cub?
Yeah. So
okay.
Cub and
again, it's coming back to it. Your network is your net worth.
100%. The first
is that a conflict of interest from Cub to this?
Well, I think the other thing is
it's not non-competes are worth fuck all on this paper. Let's be real. Every single
fuck you, TJ.
Every single
Ryan,
person.
cut this section.
Yeah, no. Every single person I've worked for, like, because at the end of the day, you've got relationships, right? And that if you go somewhere, they come with you if you're good. If you're not good and the relationships with the company, then that's fine. Because I've had people in sales who've left here, they've got fucking smoked because they were shit. And then I have people who, and they know me, they know the company. When I'm in sales roles, I was like, Hugh, I would go around. I have built the rapport. I've got a relationship.
And they know you.
If they 100%. Have, and they know that I'm a good person, right?
Yep.
And if the company I'm working for is not up to spec and I leave because it's not like that, because I won't trash talk a competitor ever.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
As soon as you trash talk, you're just giving them a leg up
100%.
And you're a shit cunt, essentially.
100%.
That's because you are a representing of what you're like behind their back, right? So I would never talk shit about them. Like, listen, I had to keep going, found it here. This is why I moved to this company because of these things. I love your business. If not, I understand, blah, blah, blah. But they always come across.
Yeah.
Because they're like, fuck no, I'm not dealing with anyone but you. You make my life easier.
Correct.
You have
need
good product.
to solve a problem.
Yeah, and if it wasn't good product, I'd be like, bro, I'm here now. Not selling it to you.
Yep.
It's not the right product for you. And because of that, I can go in any fucking industry and I'll be like, hey, Johnny, I've got this.
And he knows that you're selling it to him because you believe in the
glass pack to sell you, and I think that you're good. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I know you. You're not going to stitch me up.
Correct.
Totally agree. And so just back to that thing with Cub, it's like, their products sell for $8 to $10 grand.
Yep.
Mine's $129 a month to cancel any time. So in terms of conflict,
it's a whole different model.
It's a whole different model. Yeah. It's almost complementary because the more successful the business owners that are involved in my community that are involved in Cub, the more actually helps their business.
You had that positive relationship. You're like, hey, you're on my thing, but you should join when everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
Join Cub. It's great.
And so the coolest thing about the community is it's very much is like, how do you get people involved? A lot of them, are skeptical. It's like, sales training again. A lot of them haven't done it, and so
they think you're a salesman.
Yeah, they're a salesman. You're going to be.
We're good people,
yeah.
And it's ingrained in society, though. Yeah,
but it is, and so a lot of them. So my thinking was, how do I create an offer? So the digital sales community is very much like what you talked about beforehand. For me, it's in terms of your B2C business as opposed to B2B when you first started.
Yep.
So for me, it's like very much a passive stream of income, providing a shitload of value to the members. Yep. And then ultimately them going, hey, Hugh, this has worked so well. Like, one of the members just last week got $1.5 million worth of seed fundings for their business off the back of it.
That's sales.
Got $500,000.
Yeah, we're about to be doing cap raising as well. It is sales.
Sales. And so effectively, you have all of these members constantly getting wins, sharing wins within the community. And so it's like this boiler room of results. Really Everyone's cool. Feeding off each other. And so suddenly what everyone goes is like, what's $20,000 or $50,000 of sales training when we're getting, we're, a fumigation company or a security company and our products sell for 50 grand, 100 grand a year. And it's like a 5-year retainer. So really what I get them in.
That's the logic.
So that's a lot. So it's very much about providing a shitload of value to the members. And what I find is now with the 22 clients I've done corporate sales training with over the last 11 months, they're happy to pay that, those type of fees purely because they've seen value. So for me, it's like lead generation and providing them huge amounts of value. And then the ones that can afford it will go, hey, for 20 grand, 50 grand, of course we'll pay it. Let's do it. Let's roll.
Amazing.
And it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, it's not even pain. You're investing.
Yeah. You're investing.
And it's tax deductible.
Yeah.
Because it's your training. It's training.
But if you're good as an employer or you actually value yourself, you do it.
Yep.
Like, it's just like,
well,
if you don't
go
to the gym, if you don't do work or go for a walk, don't work out every day, you're not looking after your body.
Yep.
And again, I've done it. I thrashed the shit out of my body.
Yep.
With no sleep and all the other stuff. But like literally, as soon you have to treat yourself like an athlete.
Yep.
Totally.
You have to actually take yourself seriously or your business seriously and invest that money because it's going to come back to you.
What do you reckon over your sales careers is the biggest lesson you've learned? That's today you're still going to remember and that you could teach to someone else. Or you could tell someone else. It's someone just beginning in their sales journey.
I would say that the biggest one would be around curiosity. I would say constantly upskilling, constantly learning, constantly tweaking what you have. Like I hear this saying like it's about consistency, and it is about consistency. But you guys have just starting TikTok for the last 2 months. Now you could be consistent with TikToks for the next 2 years, 3 years, but not tweak, not be curious, not see trends, not adopt, not change. And so for anyone getting into sales, I would say the people that earn between 80 to 120 grand every year, like that middle income earners of salespeople, they're usually at that stage where they're not curious enough. They usually have the biggest egos. And so for me, it's like, yes, I'm doing sales training. Yes, the community have got great results, but I still feel like every day I'm constantly learning more and more about how I can help, how I can frame things differently, how I can put together a proposal for a client, how I can seed before actually getting in front of the client. So I think for any salesperson that wants to be really successful, be consistent because consistency will allow you to kind of get enough runs on the board, but also be curious with that.
And not being consistent for 6 months. It's like
consistently
two fucking years, mate.
At least 2 years.
Because that's
100%.
It's not
consistently consistent.
It's not. If you're 20 and you have done 2 years in sales and you're still not getting it right, it's nothing.
Yep.
100%.
Like training that you've ever done ever is just.
Everyone thinks it's going to happen overnight at the moment, and it is not. It's a hard slog. Like
unless you win 80 million Thursday.
Oh yeah. Well. And the
shout out to Powerball.
Chances of that are pretty slim as well.
Do you reckon that, again, this is for people beginning their sales career, what do you reckon maybe some of the best industries would be to get into? Because I saw that you had a conversation with that Sydney real estate mogul.
Gavin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gavin. So obviously you're well-versed around different sales industries from Amex to, consulting to selling, a service that you're currently doing now to PJ, was it PJ's, the suits?
Oscar Hunt.
Yeah.
I would say that if I was starting out my career again in sales, I wouldn't go after the money.
Yep.
I would go after the person that I probably admired the most.
And learn the most.
Or learnt the most from. So like for example, Gavin Rubenstein, top 0.001% revenue generator in Australia. He's someone that I would grit my teeth with for 2 or 3 years. I think he'd be a hard boss. He'd be a tough boss.
Fuck yeah.
But he'd ultimately, you'd either sink or you'd swim off the back of it. So people that you respect and admire and getting the results. The other thing I want to say on a side note is the reason why I love real estate in terms of their business model for selling is you have the principal of a business who in a normal company is a manager, but they don't bring in revenue. Gavin still is each and every month still having a lead by example in terms of his listings, his results to the rest of the team.
Correct.
So he doesn't just sit back and let everyone else do it.
100%.
He's out there rolling his sleeves
leading
up.
by example.
Yep.
Leading by example. So I'd say
I still do that.
Yeah, well, you're a prime example.
I've been working on
You've been
some of these
packing
deals
orders.
some of the deals are 5 years though in the making.
Yeah.
But they're the big ones.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'd say the biggest thing is find someone that you actually genuinely admire, and work for them, and don't chase the paycheck. The pay will come, especially if you're young.
The value is where it's at. Every time I have chased the money,
Never works.
it never happens. As soon as I have chased the value, doing the best I can do, like
Make passion your paycheck.
anything. Like we had a guy who is, I was trying to sell something to him, and his car battery was flat. I drove 20 minutes, jump started his car.
You're kidding.
I was like, he goes, "Oh, thanks for that. What do I owe?" I'm like, fuck off. Like, just I'm here to add value.
Yeah.
If there's ever an opportunity, if there's any opportunity,
I'm not a mechanic.
if there's any opportunity that I can have your business in the future, I would love to. But this wasn't about that. You needed something, I had to help you.
Yep.
And then guess what? Call 2 weeks later, deal.
Yep.
Totally.
Always happen. And every single time I've got obsessed with the money, bye.
Seriously.
Goodbye.
That circles back to what you were saying earlier, Luke, that someone has to respect you. And he would have respected the fact that he knows for a fact that you've gone out there with intention, you know, you want to make a good impression on this guy, but he's respected the fact that you've taken the time out of your day. You're a busy man.
You had employees that didn't rock up.
Yeah.
Like, or teams that didn't rock up. They just didn't pick up the phone.
And you're a business owner.
And
You've taken time out of your day to go.
I just happened to ring him in that situation. So it was like,
Ryan, could you grab my phone, dude, and take a photo for the boys?
for the boys.
Yeah, I just want to help promote their business.
That's all right.
It's so good.
We'll get all this at the end as well.
Yeah.
One of the things
2852 is the code.
that I wanted to. There you go.
Also,
So
is
Can you see the Winmore branding?
If you ever get, I do. I like your branding. Branding's another thing
Thanks,
in
brother.
itself.
Thanks, Ryan.
Wait, I wrote this question down. So it was objections.
Yes. Great. I love where this is going.
I'm about to run out and go to the bathroom quickly, but I just want to get this kick started. So objections is probably the most feared thing in sales. It's probably the most overcomplicated things.
Overanalyzed, I'd say.
Overanalyzed thing in sales. But what is your thoughts in regards to objections, overcoming objections, or I have my certain opinion on it in regards to setting yourself up to eliminate as much objections as possible.
Totally agree, and that's what I always said from the start. It's very much around pre-handling objections.
Role play.
Role play, but also pre-qualification. Like, I will not speak to a customer now.
That doesn't,
So someone reached out to me. This was the message I got the other day. Let me bring it up.
This is live right here. This is real shit.
This is real talk. What's his name?
Ryan, how many have we got on the old? Are we rich?
Are these guys crushing it or what?
Good.
So I'm sorry.
What have you done?
0 people.
There were on there before.
Ryan, you're fired tomorrow.
Thanks, Ryan.
So this guy reaches out to me and says,
So this is an objection that you handled?
No. But as in, this is pre-qualification.
Okay.
So what did he say? What did he message me? Fuck. Anyway, he said something along the lines of on something I put up on LinkedIn saying, "Hey Hugh, ready to be sold on this. Looking forward to hearing from you. Please, grab my contact details from LinkedIn." So I message this guy called Dan, who runs a learning and development company where he sells products between $50,000 to $200,000.
Yep.
And so usually the average salesperson gets a lead in, an inbound lead, get really excited and wants to jump on a call. It's like, I'm not jumping on a call with this guy until I at least know that he's qualified to have the conversation with me.
It's a time waste.
It's a time waste. And ultimately, this is the other thing that people need to understand is sometimes people, by simply having a conversation with you about logistics, having a conversation with me about sales training, will feel like from simply having the conversation with you that they're in a better position than they were beforehand simply from having the conversation. They go, you know what, I've been proactive. I've reached out to Hugh. I've spoken about sales training. Therefore, maybe I don't need to go ahead with it, but I've at least been proactive. So for me, I will never... Can you grab another beer, dude?
I got one here. Wait, I got one here.
I got one here. Cool. So for me, I will never jump on the phone before I have pre-qualified leads. So I said to this guy, this was literally today, I said, hey, by the way, Dan, what was your turnover last year? So this is the pre-qualification. What was your turnover last year? What's your turnover this year? Why is doing something about this important to you now, though? Now, this is a really important one. For anyone listening to this is a question you can ask in your conversation. Not saying why is this important to you, but why is this important to you now. though? Makes people take it from doing something about it in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, or never to the current state. So why is this important to you now, though? And if I could help you solve this problem, would you be willing to invest 20 to 25 grand, 25 to 30 grand, or 30 grand plus?
You're keen saying that. I'm like, how much would you spend if you could guarantee that? And then people are like, oh, $100,000. And you're like, well, this only cost you 17.
So
I'll take 100.
Son, here, and here. So I pre-qualified him, and then he effectively came back and said, hey, money is an issue. Our company's run out of Germany. We're a publicly listed company. If you can help us solve our problem, then we can do this. And so effectively, I then messaged Judify, who's organised a time for us to catch up next Wednesday. So again, in that first opening sequence, I'll say, who do you need to speak to before signing off on this? So I'll find out who the key decision maker is. I've already established the budget.
The gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper is not an issue anymore. And now I'm having a conversation with him. And so for me, that high level, it's very much about that first conversation, him understanding the consequences of not taking action and what the personal impact is to him personally. So that's at the end of that call. At 45 minutes, I will say, whether I do or I don't, I'll say, hey, Dan, I've got to wrap this conversation. I've got another call now. What I'm going to do is let's book in another call. And on that call, I'm going to book in another call a week later or 5 days later to continue that conversation. No worries, mate. To continue that conversation.
You're going to break the seal. Last man standing.
And so that first call is very much about identifying a problem that he may or may not be aware that he had. And so that's the first call. Second call is getting him to
So what are we selling? Because I missed out on that first call.
This is effectively, he wants to grow his business. So effectively...
Your course?
Not my course. So I do two things. I've got the digital sales community and then kind of corporate sales training. But it's very bespoke. So some clients that I work with, I'll set up kind of lead generation tools. I'll set up a virtual assistant to kind of do outbound messaging on LinkedIn, outbound emails. And so this guy, I will have a first conversation with, very much understand his problems. Get to the end of that call, he'll then go, oh, fuck, I really need to do something about this. Even though he's reached out to me, I need to have him completely sold at the end of that call that he needs to do something about it. And he needs to understand that I understand his problems deeply and have asked good questions. Number two, because we're talking about 30 to 50 grand worth of revenue, and this is for, call it 10 to 15 hours worth of my time. So, really well remunerated for this. Second call will be very much about deep diving and understanding his business, what he's doing currently, what he's not doing.
Is that face-to-face or
virtually?
Virtually.
All virtually. And then between that, I'll set up a third call, which will be a proposal, which I'll send through here to him beforehand, and then we'll have that conversation at the time. So very much in terms of objection handling, I will pre-handle all of those potential concerns through a pre-qualification. Second of all, that first conversation for large ticket items.
Yep.
For large ticket items will be very much around a first conversation, identifying the problem, making them aware of the cost of not taking action.
Mm-hmm.
Second call will be very much about making sure that they understand that I understand their business very well. Then I'll send them through a proposal, and then so it's like a 4-point touch point before we close the deal.
And how long is that process for you guys?
Usually 3 weeks. So if it's anything from $20,000 to $50,000 worth of revenue, it's probably a 3-week a 3-week process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, where were we?
We're just overcoming objections. So for me, it's exactly the same. Like regardless of what industry you're in, pre-qualifying. So
It's massive.
wherever the lead's coming from, I'm actually like genuinely checking them out to see who's up before I even pick up a phone call, finding out who it is.
Yep.
And then obviously use straight line. So we'll go through and we'll develop all of the qualification process or qualification questions about their business. So it can be depending on what we're selling. Like for a bearded chap, for example, we're going to use 5. It's pretty easy to establish whether that customer's the right wholesale customer for us.
Checking your TikTok, TJ.
Me?
No, he's creating his questions. He's saying his questions. He's trying to be prepped. And then the other thing is, if it's more high end, big ticket or big consultation, I'm really going from broad to close and how we can actually help them. And at the very end, back in the day, I used to be like, I'm trying for everyone. Then your conversion rate would fall through the fucking floor because guess what? They didn't have the money or they didn't actually need the stuff. Very, like, I could get them to the point, but we could never close them. So that is probably the biggest mistake that I see in training and just sales in general.
Yeah.
Always trying to close, always be closing. Yeah, always be closing the right motherfucking people.
100%.
Because this is why salespeople get demoralized. They're trying to close and waste their fucking time on people who are never going to buy, ever.
And not following up the wrong people.
Correct.
Right people as well.
Yep. And so that's the biggest thing. And we get to the end, and do not be afraid to walk away.
Yeah.
Like I said previously, by everything you just said, is not you guys aren't the right for us.
Yep.
However, I can either recommend a competitor who I might think is in line with them because that business doesn't align with what I'm trying to do, or vice versa. We're actually, that's not our scope. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got an understanding. We can now refer you to someone who good, and you're adding that value there because later on, they're going to refer you to other people as well.
Correct.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So
totally
Hugh,
agree.
what's like the 3 to 5 year business plan for your current business? Where do you see this going, and how do you reckon sales will help you benefit your business now?
So without a doubt, within the next 10 years, the digital sales community will be the number 1 e-learning platform in Australia.
Beautiful.
So
Love it.
The confidence, talking it into the atmosphere.
I just know that there's no one doing it. There's no
just
one
like
doing it.
this will be one of the biggest podcasts in Australia.
100%. And so the thing that I think is like Grant Cardone, I love Grant, but he's moving more to property. So there's no one kind of taking that up. There's no one kind of filling that void. Jordan Belfort's going into cryptocurrency. He's public speaker.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk's doing the NFTs.
But there's no one.
And garage sales.
There's no one owning that sales space. And so for me, it's not just about selling. It's about all these different modalities. There's LinkedIn Live. There's Instagram Live. There's a lead generation through virtual assistants, through cold outbound. There's a whole bunch of different ways of selling. So for me, it'll be about the digital sales community being the number 1 e-learning platform in the world within the next 10 years. I think we'll have between 5,000 to 10,000 members on the platform, and then very much about looking at kind of how we can help businesses, specifically in Australia, because this is where I've grown up, scale and grow their business in a way that allows them to have more time. To have more time and to do more cool shit. So
completely forgot. What happened to living in a tent for 10 months? We didn't even talk about it.
Do you want to go there?
What kind of tent it was?
Oh, no. I think we kind of gathered. So living in a tent, aka traveling around Australia.
You traveled around Australia.
Yeah. It wasn't I'm homeless by force. It was.
Yeah, I was like,
oh,
no, family friend that let you into the $2 million place in Sydney.
That made for very good clickbait on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yes, that was
We saw
literally
that.
Yeah. I was literally like, look, this dude lived in a tent for 2 months.
I was like, yeah, he went fucking camping.
It's a long hay.
People read so much into shit though. They literally read so much into shit.
And it was like, but technically all those things were correct. At the time I was unemployed because I resigned from Cub to start to start the digital sales community. I was living in a tent in Tasmania. Yes, we were kind of staying at doing all this other nice stuff. But
It's gonna be cool now to actually finish off that story and be like, hey, motherfuckers, because like, you got some hate on there.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like,
So, someone said that I was sliding into my wife's DMs and if I wanted to explain. And then I looked at his profile pic and I went, you know, if like, I looked at his profile pic and looked at his resume.
It's LinkedIn, bro. Why are you?
No. Well, listen to this. No, but I thought to myself, if Marlo has been sliding into your DM and you look like that and that is your resume, then credit to you.
Yeah, bro.
You
You
deserve
deserve
it.
You deserve it.
You must be brilliant at
You
sales.
should be running the digital sales community, not me.
You have one.
I'll employ you. I'll employ you, bitch.
Yeah,
And then I fucking block that. I block that motherfucker.
no,
block it.
100%. Because you don't need
Got
to
you.
put out the bullshit. Like, guess what? It's the same in anything. You put something out there and people give you shit. I love a good
Trolls.
I love trolls. Like, if you're gonna fuck with me, I'm gonna go so hard at you.
Back, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just me and my boys used to slander the fuck out of each other. Like, I remember walking away from this situation like, oh my god, my soul is like being destroyed. But it actually set me up for the real world where that if you cop a troll, I love it. It's so much fun. However, if it is just ridiculous, I also am very aware. Do not waste the fucking time.
Yeah.
Block.
Block 100%. And
Keyboard warriors,
But the thing that
you're welcome to be blocked.
but the other thing is, especially on these social media platforms, like for me, I'll pick and choose. Like the thing about, you know, like Marlo's been sliding into my DMs. Like, you know what? I
would laugh and be like, bruh, this is LinkedIn. Real professional, bro.
Yeah.
So I blocked that too, but I was like, you know what?
Screenshot and send it to his fucking employer.
Yeah,
Or mum.
yeah.
Or mum, or both.
Both.
Probably his employer.
Or his wife.
Yeah.
Gotcha, motherfucker.
Yeah, very funny.
Hey, what is the biggest mistake you've ever made in sales?
What's the
Jinx.
That's the biggest mistake you've ever made? I crashed my VT.
Yeah. No, what is the biggest mistake you've ever made? On like a real, like it was a big deal and you made one fuck up and it cost you.
I don't think I've ever had a situation where I've always had such, like honestly speaking, like such a full pipeline that it's never been one deal has crushed everything. But I've never allowed myself to be in that situation.
More the fact that it was a deal, it was like that it was going to happen. It doesn't matter if it was like you had all the stuff in the
value or
background.
anything, yeah.
It was like the deal that you made a mistake and you
minor error.
learned a lesson
Yeah.
from it.
I honestly can't think of it. Let me come back to it.
Too
Let me come
fucking-
back to it.
Okay. What's the most awkward close or unusual sales situation you've ever been in?
You've benefited from
That I've benefited from.
Or been in? Like doing a deal somewhere like you're like, what the fuck?
in the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, do you know how to sell shit?
No, I honestly can't tell you. I seriously, I'm a pretty straight. I'm pretty straight with all that stuff. So I actually don't have anything.
You're very organized.
Yeah, I don't feel like, you know, I want to give you guys a laugh, but
I feel like you're one of those people like Luke that did the work early.
100%.
So-
Yeah, but I've done some fucked up deals as well.
Yeah. Different industries though. Different industries.
I think
Alcohol, it's done like that, you know?
yeah.
I think, you know, with the companies that I work for, there was never really an opportunity to. And I also, for whatever reason, whether it's just personal values, I also realised that it's such, especially in Australia, there's, 27 million people. It's a very small marketplace. So for me personally, it was more about protecting my personal brand at all costs than winning a deal. And if there was a deal that I thought I potentially could win, but I would have to kind of bend the rules too far with it,
Or sabotage your own morals with, yeah.
I would let it go.
Good. Yeah. And that's the way it should be. If someone doesn't align with my values, I don't do the deal.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Full stop, whether it be through company or whether it be for whatever company I did work for.
Yep.
It was off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's another thing about buying or selling or making that connection with someone.
Yep.
If you're breaking your own moral conduct What's the point of the deal?
Well, it's a
Where do you
slippery
hold your
slope.
regard?
So when I was learning off Jordan, right? Well, he was talking about
do
it.
you do anything for the deal, or do you have?
No, you have your ethics,
Yeah.
and you should stick with them because this is what happened with Jordan, right? So he got done for less than 5% of his business. That's how much he got done for, and then he went to federal prison for 2 years. But what happened was, one day he slid the line. I'll just do this a little bit, and then just a little bit.
Yep.
And then 2 years later, he was this far over the line.
Way far,
And that was what he got done for. And he literally was, if he didn't get done, his share or stake in, what was the shoe company called?
Oh, I know the one you're talking about.
Fuck. Women's shoe company. Anyway, that shoe company.
Steve Madden.
He would have been, on paper it was $2 billion, $2 billion of net worth. But he was earning $56 million a year at 26. So that he just again pushed the line. He had an addictive personality. He
wanted more.
Yeah, it was just that. But that's what Wall Street was as well.
Yeah.
So in the 80s,
fast paced, selling pink slips.
Yeah, no. What is probably the biggest? I don't think you've asked that question unless I was waiting. What's the biggest lesson? Did you ask that question?
Biggest what?
Lesson that he learned?
I think so. Who are you voting for?
Jesus Christ! Yeah, who are you voting for?
Yeah, that was
no
gonna
comment. No comment.
That was going to be
Elections
my
on the
introductory. That was going to be my introductory question.
I honestly, this is what Marlo and I actually fight over. So Marlo said to me, Marlo said to me,
if that's what you fight over, you're doing something really right.
So Marlo said, she's like, Hugh, you're 32 years old. You still allow your postal vote to go to your parents' house, and you allow your mum to vote on your behalf. That is absolutely fucking pathetic. When are you gonna? And I said,
she's a smart lady.
She's a smart lady, but I said honestly, whether it's Labor, whether it's Liberal, whether it's the Greens, it's not going to change my day to day. Honestly, and maybe I'm naive to it. But my life over the last kind of 7, 8, 9, 10 years, earning money has never been impacted by who's been in Parliament. So, for me personally, to the day that I die, Mum, you can keep voting for me.
Do you know what? That's what I said to my parents as well. I said, "What's my vote going to change?" And they said, but everyone 100,000 people like me. I don't know who the fuck I'm voting.
That's what
for,
Marlo said as well.
Unfortunately,
I don't know.
There's no one good worth voting for at the
Everyone
moment.
loses.
When is there going to be a really good independent?
Actually, no.
Apart from Clive Palmer.
One of the things though but this is one of the biggest issues, right?
Freedom.
You guys are still talking about voting for a person, and
an AI.
We don't vote for
a party,
a person. We vote for the party and their policies.
Yeah.
They've just switched and baited it to be like America because we've become so Americanized.
Yep.
Read the fucking policies and then you vote for the party.
Yeah.
Whoever is in there, they could last 2 weeks for a sex scandal. We had 4 prime ministers in 2 years. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But just getting heated on the debate. What else? Do we have?
It was the Actually, I think I had one more in here. Hold on, let me.
Ryan's getting tired. I can see he's wanting to go to bed. We're going to wrap this up.
See, I'm just having.
You don't pay him enough.
I'm hitting my straps. No, everyone is paid above award, bro.
I've actually asked pretty much a lot of my questions on here.
I feel like we've done well. How long have we been going for?
Probably 2.5 hours.
What's impressive?
About 2 hours, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, about 2 hours. One last question.
Well, here it is.
Here we go.
What's your biggest sale you've ever closed in your life, and what was your biggest comms check off that? Because what I want to inspire someone young, hopefully,
100%.
to get into this profession and take it seriously and do the learning, whether it be through
sales jobs are frowned upon. Commission based jobs are frowned upon.
Yeah.
But you make the most money off of them.
If you do the fucking work.
Correct.
And you do the training.
Correct. Yeah. And in any industry, in any job, in any profession, you need to do the work.
Think of it.
I think growing up and having sales jobs, I was embarrassed to tell people that I was a salesman because
I was
people were
too,
like,
yeah.
you're a sales executive or you're a sales, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was earning more money than my friends, but it's just it sounded like a dirty, slimy way to make money.
Well,
And people
you remember your mum going, "Oh, it's just a salesman at the door."
It's just a salesman.
Oh, it's a bloody salesman calling me
Yeah.
at dinner time. Like, it was always this bad
Correct.
connotation. And I had the same as well, but I got over it pretty quickly. And I was the combative. I'm like, "Fuck you, you're in sales as well, bro. Do you have
Yeah.
any friends?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, and I started influencing them.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Fuck, like you were right." So I got into that pretty early.
Correct.
But what for me, it's the thing I love about sales is the people you get to meet,
100%.
the network you build,
Yep.
the improvement in mentally, physically, because that rolls off into that, and through fulfillment through your life. Like, I would never have been able to do some of the stuff I've ever done my entire life if I had not been done what I've done, whether it be an entrepreneur or in sales.
Yep.
Um,
And if you can be good at sales, you have a job forever. If you give a man a fish,
correct.
he'll eat for
Teach
a
him how to
day.
fish.
He'll eat forever.
But
Spoken like Jesus Christ himself.
the exciting thing, though,
100%.
one of the biggest
Gandhi.
exciting things is because it can be the wildest, depending on what industry, it can be the wildest fucking ride.
Yep.
Or it can be very
short.
short. It can be very low key, precise.
Yep.
Also, depending on what industry you are and what you're selling, whether it be a service or product or whatever. But when you get that first big comms check or you get that really big deal,
Yep.
you lose your shit.
Yep.
So what was the most memorable one that you had and you were just like...
Or month.
Yeah.
I won't say which company it was for, but it was...
No, don't say that. Just like...
It was 6 figures in 1 month.
But explain,
That
because you're
was
not
the
saying
commission?
anything.
In commission
Yeah.
in 1 month.
So what did you sell? No, is that not the product, but like
It
the
was-
revenue dollar value and then what your comms around it? Because I want people to actually understand that you can fucking do this whether you have a degree or not, and if you do the work, the type of results you can get.
So I'll say, I won't say the company,
No,
but
no,
it was 6 figures.
Yeah.
Within a month, and it was interesting. Like, it was at the time
So
where
it's multiple things to get to
Multiple
that.
deals.
multiple deals, but one big deal in particular, and I ended up. It was interesting. When I tried to, I could have almost got more money from this deal. Where I kind of potentially blew, and I think this is an interesting thing. People like to know what you didn't do opposed to what you did do. I ended up taking this couple out for dinner at Rockpool in Sydney. I flew from Melbourne to Sydney, took them out for dinner, and I think at that point they realised that clearly if I was at 24, 25 years old, flying up from Melbourne to Sydney to take them out to Rockpool, and just them, they realised that they were being properly
They know what's
rinsed.
up.
Like, so for me...
This isn't Dad's credit card.
Yeah. So it was that. But since then, I would say the amount of money.
Why was that one good though?
Because it was the most amount of money I'd kind of ever earned. Like it was just
In a short
ridiculous. It
period
was
of time.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like, it allowed me to then that year was the year that I flew. Mel and I business class over to Europe. We had kind of 7 weeks away. I got down on one knee and proposed to her. We stayed at these beautiful hotels.
So fuck you money. That's what it was.
It was good. and so now what the irony is, though, like, I'm earning more money than I've ever earned beforehand. But being a business owner, every single dollar is being reinvested into the business.
Yep. So important.
So important. So
I think to add to that, you're actually helping more people than you
and
ever
this
have.
is
solving a problem.
This is the thing. So when I was in a sales role, it was more about the money, and now that I'm running my own business, it's very much like, it doesn't matter how much money we bring in each month. It's very much around, now I've got Noah as a team member. We've been running for 11 months. I've got Judith as a team member. I've got myself, and I've got the 100 plus community members, plus I've got the 22 corporate clients. For me, it's very much about like helping them, like helping them, because when I was growing up, like I never had anyone that genuinely gave a shit outside of my family. Yeah. So for me, it's very much around not the money. The money is the byproduct of doing a good job helping people, and the money comes. And you said this similar beforehand. When you push and you push and you push, and you resist something, the results that you want don't come. But when you're doing it because it's coming from a good place and you genuinely give a shit, the money follows. And Gavin said this the other day when he spoke to the digital sales community: make passion your paycheck. And I never got that completely until I started my own business 12 months ago. and the rest is history.
Amazing. That's cool.
Do we end it there?
Absolutely. And we need to get him on the podcast as well.
It's
the goals thing.
GR, the great man.
Yeah. Dude, thanks so much for coming on. We've had a blast.
Yeah,
it's been exciting. It's a good way to kick off. First time we've actually spoken about like a topic, not just like a career, which I'm really excited about. So I hope everyone got some good value out of that. And we'll see everyone next time.
Perfect.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.